Today we're going to be going through the topics which are multiples, factors, prime and composite numbers. So what are multiples? Multiples are the numbers that you get from multiplying a number by another number. So for example, the multiples of 2 would be 2 times 1, which is 2, 2 times 2, which is 4, 2 times 3, which is 6. So if you say what the multiples of 2 are, the multiples would be all of these numbers and so on, because it goes on and does not stop. The smallest multiple of any number is the number itself. Our first question is, list the multiples of 5 between 23 and 43. So that means that we have to go through the times table of 5, but we only have to write those multiples which come between 23 and 43. So if we go through the times table of 5 fives are 25. So that means that 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 8 is 40. 5 times 9 is 45, but because our limit is between 23 and 43, we will start from 5 times 5, because 5 times 4 is 20, and that is less than 23. So that means 5 times 5 is 25, 5 times 6 is 30, 5 times 7 is 35, and 5 times 8 is 40. So the multiples between 23 and 43 are 25, 30, 35, and 40. Our next question is, which of the numbers in the box below are common multiples of 2 and 7? So now we know that what multiples are, but what does it mean by common multiples? So for example, if I say that 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times, let's take a bigger number. So if I say that 2 times 14 is 28, and then 7 times 4 is also 28. So that means that 28 is a common multiple of both 2 and 7. So that is what the question is asking us. It's asking us for the common multiples of 2 and 7. So how do you figure that out? So firstly, we know that the multiples of 2 can only be even numbers. So that means that it can be 24, it cannot be 7 because 7 is odd. It can be 28, it can be 42, but it cannot be 35. Now we have to figure out which one of these is also a multiple of 7. Well, then we know that each of these is a multiple of 2, so we go through the times table of 7. We know that 7 times 4 is 28. 24 does not come in the 7 times table, so we cross this out. 28 does. 7 times 6 is 42. So that means, and both of them come in the 2 times table, so 2 times 14 is 28, and 2 times 21 is 42. So that means that even though 24 is also a multiple of 2, but because it's not a multiple of 7, that is not a common multiple. The common multiples are 28 and 42 in this case. So 28 and 42. Now let's go through what are factors. So factors are the numbers that you multiply to get a certain number. So for example, I have 2 times 1 is equals to 2. So factors of 2 will be 1 and 2 because we multiply 1 and 2 together to give us 2. Factor pairs are the two numbers you multiply to get a certain number. So if you're asked for a factor, that means that we give individual factors. So for example, if I have a question, what are the factors of 2? I say the factors of 2 are 1 and 2. But if I'm asked that what are the factor pairs of 2, I'll say that the factor pairs of 2 are 1 and 2. My second example is 8 times 1 is 8 and 2 times 4 is 8. So both of these 8 times 1 and 2 times 4 give us 8. So the factors of 8 will be 1, 2, 4, and 8 itself, because 8 times 1 is 8, so these are two factors of 8. Then 2 times 4 is 8, which are two factors of 8. But we always write the factors in a sequence. So factor pairs will be 8 times 1 and 2 times 4. So the factor pairs will be 8 and 1 and 2 and 4. The note is that 1 is the smallest factor of all numbers and the largest factor of any number is the number itself. So for example, if I say the smallest factor of this will be 1, it's 1. But if I say, and in the case of 2, you only have one factor, so 2 times 1. These are the only two factors that you have. However, if I talk about 8, my smallest factor is going to be 1. My largest factor is going to be 8 itself. So our first question is, write down all the factors of 18. So I'm going to figure out what two numbers can I multiply to give me 18. So I start with my smallest factor, which can be 1. So 1 times 18 will give me 18. Then 2 times 9 also gives me 18. 3 times 6 also gives 18. 18 does not come in the times table of 4, so 4 cannot be a factor of 18. 18 does not come in the times table of 5, so 5 can also not be a factor of 18. And then lastly, I have 6 times 3, which is 18. So now, over here you can see that I started with my smallest number, which is 1, and I went in sequence. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I read the times table in sequences. Now over here I stopped at 6 times 3, which is equal to 18, because you can see that over here I did 3 times 6, which is equal to 18. And now I'm repeating the same thing again. 6 times 3 is 18. So it's basically both of them are the same things. The only difference is that in this it's 3 times 6 and 6 times 3. So when we have two repeating factors like that, that's when we stop at a second factor. So we won't read the times table for 7, 8, 9, and 10 onwards, because we know that these 6 and 3 is the 6th table is the last table in which I can find 18. So I won't read 7, 8, 9 anymore. So now my factors, if I come on write my factors, I'll start from my lowest. So 1, 2. So we start in order. I'm not going to write 1, 18, 2, 9. I'll write in order. So 1, 2, 3. I have 3 twice, one over here and one over here, but I'll only write it once. Then 6, again I'm only going to write that once. Then 9, and then 18. So these are all my factors for 18. Our next question is, write down all the factors of 30. Again, I'm going to start by finding it with 1, because 1 is a factor for every number. So 1 times 30 will give me 30. 2 times 15 will give me 30. 3 times 10 Or give me 30. 30 does not come in the times table for 4. 5 times 6 will give me 30. So I'm still going to write, I'm still going to go on further because I don't have any other factors that have already repeated till yet. And then 6 times 5, which is also 30. And I'm going to stop over here because I have 6 and 5 twice. So 5 and 6 have repeated itself. So now if I plot down the factors, I'll have 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, then 10, 15, and 30. So I write the factors from the smallest factor to the largest factor, which is always the number itself. The smallest factor is always 1, and the largest factor is always the number itself. Now we're going to look at the relationship of factors and multiples, so the relationship between factors and multiples. So over here there are 20 blocks. The blocks can be arranged in the array of 4 rows and 5 blocks each, with 5 blocks each. So we have 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4. And see, each of these has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks each. Since multiplying 4 by 5 results to 20, 4 and 5 are the factors of 20. This means 20 is a multiple of both 4 and 5. So what this basically means is that when you have two different numbers, for example, over here, if you go to multiples right here, remember we said that we have to find out the multiples of 5 between 23 and 43. In the same way, if you take these numbers 25, 30, 35, and 40, these two numbers which are multiplying together to give this as a result, as a product, are the factors. So in the same case over here, 4 and 5 are multiplying together to give us 20 as a product. That means that 4 and 5 are the factors of 20. And this happens with any number that you take. So if I take, let's take 10 times 2, which gives me 22. So 10 and 2 will also be the factors of 20 because it's giving me a product of 20. So any two numbers which multiply together to give us product are the factors of that product. How many factors does 2 and 8 have? So over here, 2 has only 2 factors, 1 and 2, because then 8 has 4 factors, 1, 2, 4, and 8. So if we look at 2, we know if a number has factors or multiples, because 1, if you write it down like 1 times 2 is equals to 2. So we know that 2 is a multiple, and a 1 times 2, so 1 and 2 are the factors. In the same way over here, we can figure out that 8 has 4 factors, because 1 times 8 is equals to 8. And then 2 times 4 is also equals to 8. And 4 times 2 is also equals to 8. But over here, the factors are repeating, so we don't write the factors anymore. So these are my last factors, 1, 2, 4, and 8. So 8 has 4 factors. Based on the number of factors, we can say that 2 is a prime number and 8 is a composite number. So let's go on to see what a prime and a composite number is. So a prime number. Prime numbers are numbers that only have 2 factors, which are 1 and itself. For example, 2, 3, 5, and 7 are prime numbers. So like in this slide over here, it says that 2 is a prime number and 8 is a composite number. We know that why 2 is a prime number. 2 is a prime number because one of its factors, how do you get 2? You get 2 by multiplying 1 times 2, which gets us 2. So that means that one of the factors is 1, and the second factor is the number itself. So whenever you have a situation like that, that means that this number is a prime number because it only has 2 factors, 1 and the number itself. In the same way, if you look at 3, 1 times 3 gives me 3, right? If you times 2 by something, you'll never get 3 after this. It's only 1 times 3, which gives me 3. So 1 and 3 are the only factors that I can find for 3. That means that one of my factors is 1, and the second factor is the number itself. That means that 3 is a prime number. The same is with 5, 1 and 5. So 1 and the number itself are the factors for 5. And with 7, 1 and 7. And this goes on and on and on. For example, if you take a number 11, so 11, how do you get 11? You times 1 times 11 gets us 11. And then 11 times 1 gets us 11, but then the factors are repeating. So that means that these are the only 2 factors that you can find for 11. One of the factors is a 1, the second factor is the number itself. That means that 11 is also a prime number. Moving on to composite numbers. So what is a composite number? A composite number is a number that has more than 2 factors. So any number that has more than 2 factors is a composite number. For example, 4, 18, and 35 are composite numbers. So if you look at the factors of 4, you can see 1 and 4, which is the number itself, and 1, but you can also see another factor right here in the middle, which is 2. So because it has more than 2 factors, more than 1 and the number itself, it is a composite number. So if you look at the factors of 4, how do you get 4? In which different ways do you get 4? You get 1 times 4, which gives us 4. And then 2 times 2, which gives us 4. And then you don't get 3 times anything. 4 does not come in the times table for 3. And then 4 times 1 again gives us 4. So these are the 3 factors that you can find 4 in. So 1, 2, and 4. So because it has more factors, it has more than 2 factors, that is why this number is going to be a composite number. The same is with 18. Yeah, the factors are 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18. And for 35, the factors are 1, 5, 7, and 35. But if you notice that in each of these composite numbers, we always have 1. So we have this 1 over here, and we have the number itself. 1 and the number itself. 1 and the number itself. But only because it has more factors other than 1 and the number itself, that is the only reason why it's composite. But if a number only has 2 factors, 1 in itself, it's prime, and if it has more than 2 factors, that means it's composite. Prime or composite. Which of the numbers are prime and which are composite numbers? So we know that prime numbers are the numbers whose factors are 1 and the number itself. So let's take a look at 5. What are the different ways that you can get 5? You can get 1 times 5, which gives me 5. Or you have 5 times 1, which is 5. And over here the factors are repeating, so we won't look at any more factors. We won't look out for any more factors. Now over here you can see that 1 and 5. One of the factors is 1, the other factor is the number itself. That means that this number is a prime number. So for prime number, I'm going to circle it with a red, and for composite numbers, I'm going to circle it with a blue. Let's look at 24. 24. What are the different ways that you can get 24? Now, every even number is always a prime number, composite number, except for 2. Except for 2, all of the even numbers are prime numbers, are composite numbers, sorry. So for 24, we don't have space over here. Let me just erase this part here. So if you look for the factors of 24, you can see that 1 times 24 is 24. Then we also have 2 times 12, which is 24. So once we get a different factors other than 1 and the number itself, that means that the number is a composite number. So that means that this number is a composite number. So I'm going to circle this in blue. Now let's take a look at 7. If you look out for the factors of 7, you can get 1 times 7 gives us 7, and 7 times 1 gives us 7. And now here the factors are repeating, so we won't look out for any more factors. Now if you take a look at the two factors, one of the factors are 1 and the second factor is the number itself. So that means that this number is going to be a prime number. So I'm going to circle this in red. Now 19. If you take a look at the factors of 19, we see that 1 times 19 is 19. The 19 times 1 is 19. You can check for other tables, but you won't find 19 in any other timetable except for 1 and 19, the number itself. So that means that 19 is going to be a prime number because the two factors that it has is 1 and the number itself, 19. Now 25. If you find out the factors for 25, 1 times 25 is 25. So we have 25. Then we have 3 times 25, which is 25. That means that we have more factors that other than the number and 1. We also have 3. Sorry, not 3, 5. 25 does not come in the times table for 3. So then we have 5 times 5, which is 25. That means that we have other factors. We have 1, 5. Then we also have like different factors and 25. So because we have more than 2 factors other than 1 and 25, we also have 5. That means this number is going to be a composite number. So I'm going to circle this in blue. If you look at the factors of 10, you can see that 10 comes in various timetables. 1 times 10 is 10. Then 2 times 5 is 10. And then 5 times 2 is also 10. So that means we have how many factors? 1, 2, 3, and then 4. We have 4 factors. So that means that this number is definitely going to be a composite number. Four is 1 times 4 is 4, and 2 times 2 is also 4. And then again you have 4 times 1, which is 4, and the factors are repeating. So 1 times 4 and then 4 times 1, the factors are repeating. So that's where we stop. Now we have 1, 2, and 4. We have 3 different factors. That means that this number is going to be a composite number. Then you do the same with 63. So 63 comes in 1 and also 3 and then 63. So you only have to check if you have more than 2 factors. If the number has more than 2 factors, that means it's definitely going to be composite. So I won't look out for any other timetables. 38 also comes in 1, 38, and 2. And so I don't have to check out for any other timetables. So the summary for multiples and factors is that multiple is a number that you get from multiplying a certain number by another number. For example, the multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. Because 3 times 1 is 3, then 3 times 2 is 6, and so on. 3 times 3 is 9, and it goes on and on and on. The factors and factor pairs. So factors are the numbers you multiply to get a certain number. So for example, 1 times 2 is 2. So 1 and 2 are the factors for 2. Then factor pairs are the two numbers you multiply to get a certain number. So for example, factors of 20 are 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. And the factor pairs are 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. The summary for prime number and composite number. So prime numbers are numbers that only have two factors, which are 1 and itself. Example 2, 3, 5, 7. Composite numbers are numbers that have more than two factors, for example 4, 6, 8, and 9. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you like it.